We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Touchdown, Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Verdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
All right, Duck fans, here we go. Welcome into another episode of the Ducks Rising podcast, sponsored by Backer and Water Ave Coffee. My name's Zachary, Neel. My co-host, Travis Rooke-Ley. Travis, what's up, man? How we doing?
Been waiting for this week for a long time. Stress is building up a little bit, but excited to chat through it.
I know, we're going to get to that later. It's like the days of stress-free Oregon weekends are kind of gone for the next couple of months at least. Like, you don't have any more Minnesotas, any more Rutgers on the schedule. It's kind of nut crunch time from here on out.
Yeah, it's I mean, we all would have taken 9-1 at this point, everything in front of us, but the swings of emotion that these next 2 weeks can bring are certainly big.
Yes, absolutely. We got a lot to cover today. We're going to break down the Minnesota game, kind of go over some more lasting thoughts from that win. Then we're going to move on to USC and preview that top 20 matchup in Autzen this weekend. After that, we want to once again talk about the college football playoff rankings, which come out tonight. They are relatively important just because of kind of what happened over the weekend. So going to kind of preview what's to come, what we think should happen. Before that, some housekeeping. Jeff's film room went live last night. Another really good episode. He highlighted some stuff offensively mainly that Will Stein did in this game to kind of key in on the personnel, kind of get with Minnesota in space and just take advantage of them. I thought it was a pretty good episode, a really good day from Will Stein, which we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, and Will Stein has a lot of good days. I think it's important for Oregon fans to remember that. I know people like to mention wide receiver screens and basically think that's the only thing he calls, but I would just reckon fans and remind fans to remember, like, this is one of the elite guys out there. There's a reason why every single coaching search, he's like the number one offensive coordinator that comes up. It's because he's really good at his job, and I think a lot of the stuff that you don't typically notice because you just expect this offense is going to be really good, like watch Jeff's breakdown and see what he's doing to like scheme guys open.
Yeah, and I love that Jeff was, for one of those plays, like the double post wheel. He's like, yeah, this is in your like college football playoff offense, like the video game. Last night after watching the game, or after watching the film, I went and found that play in my playbook, ran it a little bit. I was like, oh, fun play. I like this. It's going to be part of my repertoire going forward.
Love it. Love it.
Let me see, where am I in my notes? Oh, we also have a very fun alumni corner coming up this week with Fat Mac, Jordan Scott. I think he's going to be in town for this game. He said at least a while ago he was coming for this game, so should be a fun one with him. Kind of dive into things with his career. I know he had a very fun tenure at Oregon, so I'm looking forward to that one. All right, we are going to get to Minnesota in a second, but Travis, let me tell you first that Jay Stu is coming to town this week. We're going to go golfing on Friday, and I'm very excited to get my backer gear out in action, get it on the course, kind of see how it tests up against the elements. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely great, but I'm really looking forward to that.
I know Corey from Backers got some stuff set up with Jay Stu, I believe, at some point as well. So you might be tandem backering out there on the golf course Friday. But for those who missed it, they also just released their like gray Oregon Cool One jacket, which has long been in the works. Super cool design, once again, like the other jackets, and hopefully the black one is coming. I know there were hopes to get it out for SC this weekend with the blackout, but I know that's down the line. So those of you out there looking for holiday shopping, I know they're doing a big push around the holiday with some different promotions or anything, so stay attuned to bckrbacker.com for all your Oregon needs.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about Minnesota. We have not had a chance to talk about this game yet since it happened. Just curious, kind of off the top, your biggest takeaways from the day.
It's just so nice to see the offense have a chance to run real offense because the weather finally obliged, and just to see the unit get back to like that ruthless efficiency we talked about, but also some shot plays down the field, some explosives, seeing our tight ends finally get involved. I know me and you have kind of harped season long and started in the preseason about how much we were looking forward to like this 12 personnel look and the versatility that it could provide for Stein, Dante, everyone else. So it was nice I think our top two receivers were Jamari and Kenyon. So it was nice to see that finally utilized, and I think that's a look moving forward against USC and Washington that they can be very advantageous for us just because of the run pass versatility it provides.
And just the size advantage it provides. Like at times, like I just think about back to that Sadiq touchdown, the out route one. I guess that was his only touchdown. The diving catch didn't count as a touchdown, but when he just gets lined up on this smaller linebacker, and it's like, okay, yeah. Anytime you see that, yeah, that's gonna be advantageous. So if you can continue to do that against USC, Washington, I mean, just continue to get in those mismatches, very important. I think with the injuries, like I think Jeff was saying in his film review last night, like in a strange way, the injuries to the wide receivers might be one of like the biggest benefits for Oregon right now, just because it forced them into this 13 personnel look at times, and they kind of learned like, oh, this can really, really work for us. And I'm sure they knew this before, but they might have just been maybe a little bit stubborn trying to get the receivers out there as much as possible. But when you force their hand and make them use Sadiq as a wide receiver, it's going to end up pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there are many teams in the country who can run like 2-minute offense like we did at the end of the first half out of 12 personnel, which is what we did. But you can split out those guys, and just what they do in the run game allows you to have that versatility. I think that when you mention like matching them up against small linebackers, I mean, USC and Washington do not have a ton of size in the middle. So if you think about what they can do both in line, allowing us to run the ball, but then, as you mentioned, split them out, and you still have an advantageous matchup out there. I got to imagine it's the type of thing that we knew we kind of had in the bag all year, and we're just waiting for the opportunity to kind of, pull it out of the garage when we needed to. So I don't know. I got to imagine that still with some receivers down this week, we're going to see a lot of that again. Yeah,
it just makes me that much more confident in this team's ability to win in multiple ways, which is what we've talked about all season. Like you want a run heavy game and downpour against Iowa or Wisconsin, like, yeah, they can do that. You want a dry game against someone like USC or a high powered offense, like, yeah, I think they feel pretty comfortable in that situation too. They're still going to be physical in the trenches, but they've got different ways to hurt you offensively. Breaking news, I was really impressed with Dante Moore. Like, obviously, he completed 90% of his passes, career high in passing yards. Like, this was the type of game that I think we've kind of been waiting to see from him all year. And that's not to say that he's been bad at all this year, but like you said, because of the weather, it just didn't really play into his ability to pass the ball over the past few weeks. They kind of just let him out and let him do it. And it's strange to see that in a game without some of your top receivers. But, man, he was just so good on Saturday. He was calm. He was really confident. I was really impressed with what I saw.
To be honest, I'm right there with you. Two of the plays that impressed me most were just plays where we were in a second down situation and Dante just checked the ball down. And it was one was on our first drive of the game. We were in a 2nd and 9 situation. Dante scanned the field. Jamari Johnson dumped it down, got to 3rd and 1. I think our third or fourth drive, we were in a 2nd down, probably 6 or 7 situation, dumped it down to Jordan Davison. After seeing the field once again, moved the chains. Like, that's the type of stuff that made Bo and Dylan so good and made this offense so efficient. And so if you can combine the arm talent stuff that Dante can do that those guys couldn't with some of this stuff, I think that's when this offense gets to the next level. So that's my big key these next couple weeks, is just like possessing the ball, keeping the chains moving, getting across those 50s, like take it when it's there. And I think this was the first time where I could really see Dante like scan, okay, dump it down. And then the next possession you see him, boom, play action, like hit it right away. So you could just tell the comfort was there early in the game.
Well, then he still has some of those throws where it's like, I think it was 3rd quarter. I forget exactly which drive it was, but he's like in the pocket, left hash, and just delivers a dart over to the right sideline on an out route And it's just like, man, that's it. It's not a touchdown. I think it was a first down, but like it's not going to be remembered as one of like his amazing throws. But it's like that's just such a routine thing, and there are maybe a handful of college quarterbacks who can make that throw that easily and do it consistently. We've seen him do that all year. So really, really impressive game from him. I think a really needed game for him going into this stretch run just to like get that confidence again. I know the weather had a huge factor to play, and hopefully it'll be. Last I looked, it was maybe dry on Saturday.
Yeah.
Have you looked? Okay,
As of
I think
now,
it should be dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look out USC's defense. I think that's what we have to say.
Yeah, I mean, after going through what he did at Iowa and leading that drive and a couple of the passes he made and the composure he showed and everything, I mean, that's the type of drive that you talk about later on and say, wow, like that was what took him to the next level. Like that's what gave him all the confidence in the world to know like he could be that guy. So it makes sense that his play would just go up a level after that. I mean, you proved to yourself against a tough defense in the elements, everything, that like you can be that dude. So super great to see. I mean, once again, I think he's always probably going to be the type of guy like we harken back to the shooter who just needs to see one go through. I think like him just ripping one on that first drive down the sideline to Benson and then to Sadiq after that, I think you could tell that just like got him in a rhythm a little bit. And so I think he's always just going to be the type of guy that needs to do that early in the game. And so I hope Stein, I'm sure he's figured it out at this point. We just need him to have success early in the game.
Anything else on Minnesota? I mean, the defense was very solid again. I don't think that we expected anything different. The running game, great. The offensive line played very well. It was weird to see not weird, but interesting to see the shift in the guards, flipping Iuli and Pregnon. But I think they played really well, and it shows how versatile this offensive line could be.
Yeah, I think defensively, we played a lot of man. I was going back and doing some rewatch stuff yesterday, and that was pretty obvious. By far our highest percentage of man in the year. I think that says less about Minnesota and more about what we want to do moving forward. I think that there's kind of a combination of benefits there between giving teams another look, but then also being able to just rep that look and be ready for it depending on how things shake out the rest of the season. Because of that, I think they caught us in a couple isolations for their running backs and slot guys against our linebackers, which is just naturally going to be our weak point as the season goes. So you could see that they schemed some things up late in the second quarter and early in the third quarter where they got Taylor matched up against our linebackers. And that, no matter what team that is, if you get a running back against a linebacker, you're going to be in a good spot. So I don't think that's
really
necessarily
good running back too.
Totally. So I don't think that's a huge indictment on us, but it was interesting to see that. It was interesting to see him really go after Finney. I know there's a couple kind of bogus PI calls out there, I would say, as the game went a little bit, which I think will actually be a big topic of conversation leading up to SC because they have some physical wide receivers and they love to just chuck the ball up to those guys. So It's going to be really interesting to see how this game's officiated early on because I think that actually could play a pretty big role.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. With all of the Minnesota stuff wrapped up, we are going to get to USC and our breakdown here. Before that, we're recording in the morning right now. I'm enjoying my my beloved cup of Water Ave coffee, my fourth quarter fuel. It got me going in the first quarter. This is great stuff. And when you told me about this partnership, I was like, oh, okay, a coffee company. I'll take it. I love it. This is my new favorite stuff.
I love that. I love to hear that. We'll have to let our dueling mats over at Water Ave Coffee know. But for Oregon Ducks that are interested in this stuff, check out OregonDucksCoffee.com. It's actually not on the traditional Water Ave site. They have their own license specifically for this Oregon line. So once again, just like Backer, for those of you looking for a gift leading up to the holidays, you're just a coffee drinker like Zach and I and want something in the morning, check out OregonDucksCoffee.com. They do subscriptions bi-weekly, weekly, whatever you need. And like Zach said, it's super high quality stuff. And then these super cool designs based on old Oregon uniforms and some different special projects coming up here in the future as well.
All right, let's take a look at USC. Like we said earlier, I think the days of the stress-free football, stress-free games are gone for Oregon. This should be a really fun one against USC. You've got really good offense for the Trojans, relatively average defense, but they can still make some plays. I know that you're excited for this one as an Oregon fan.
Yeah, I mean, anytime USC's coming to town, I think that Autzen and fans are always going to be kind of jazzed up and ready to go. Unfortunately, the 12:30 kick is not ideal. I was really hoping for 4:30, but I mean, we've just got to find a way to be able to emulate that, Ohio State type atmosphere, because I think that can really play a role in a game like this. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a playoff elimination game, I think, unfortunately. I know there's a lot of Oregon fans who are confident if we're 10-2, but you got to realize USC is going to be 10-2 almost assuredly if they win this game. And so you're just putting another team, obviously, in front of us in that situation. So a lot on the line, which obviously leads to that, stress we were talking off the top. I think given where we've been at as a program over the last 3 years with landing in charge and some of the decline we've seen from USC under Riley and some of the fun we've poked at them in different situations about, their culture and their roster and different things. I mean, losing out on a playoff spot to them would be pretty devastating.
Yeah, that's what makes these next two, like, any time you go into a week and it's like, all right, this is basically a playoff game, like, must win. That's already stressful. But then when those games are against USC and against Washington, it's like, oh, that just ramps it up that much more. Like, losing would hurt. Losing to either of those teams and having either of those teams, quote unquote, end your season, that's like losing to Oregon State, a few years ago, back in 2022. Like, that really hurts.
Yeah, and I mentioned the other day, I mean, this is one, I'm sure USC would say many of the same things, but I think this is one our staff has probably had circled for a little bit here. I think that USC obviously had some success in the spring and summer with some recruiting wins and different things, and I think they got a little chesty about it, both publicly and privately, and I think that was certainly noted. So I got to imagine this is a game that we're going to be up for. I think there's no doubt in the world that this staff, the players, obviously some of the USC transfers on our roster have been outspoken about the differences between kind of the two cultures and environments and teams. So, yeah, I mean, it's all the stars have kind of aligned for it, but, no matter how much you want to win or care about it or have schemed for it or built for it, like games like this between two good teams are still going to come down to some small moments. So I think that's ultimately what's going to, determine the outcome Saturday.
What gives you the most confidence going into this game? What gives you the highest level of concern going into this game?
I mean, we talked about it going to Iowa. I think, just generally speaking, I trust our defense to get more stops, and I think there are more pathways for us to win the game. So anytime you go into a game with those two things being true, I think that ultimately you got to feel somewhat confident. I know the line has jumped a little bit in our respect. I know it opened 7.5, 8.5 in a couple different places, and now I see a lot of 10.5. So I know there's injuries on both sides that are going to kind of play a role offensively for us, I think defensively for them, and then one O-lineman as well. But I think what gives me confidence ultimately is I think our offense should be able to move the ball, possess the ball, and score a good amount. And I think if we're doing that and can just get, 3 to 4 stops defensively, whether that's a turnover or a stop, holding USC to a field goal, then you're in a great spot. I think what gives me pause is their receivers are really good. Like maybe the second best wide receiving crew in the country behind Ohio State. Lemon and Lane specifically make a ton of contested catches. I mean, that second half against Iowa last week, Iowa's DBs were all over those dudes, and they were just making contested play after contested play. So like we mentioned earlier, I think it'll be interesting to see how the game is officiated, but I think you just got to know going to the game, like USC's going to get some yards. They're going to make some plays. Those guys are NFL receivers. They're going to get their yardage. They're going to probably score a couple touchdowns. But I'm interested to see what the officials allow and what our defensive game plan is for that.
I agree. I'm very confident in Oregon's running game in this. After watching some of the film or just watching the game for USC and Iowa, Iowa's able to push them around in the trenches. And I think that, Oregon's offensive line is just as good as Iowa, if not a little bit better. I know that they were dealing with some injuries with Alex Harkey. They moved some things around. I don't know if they'll move back this time, but what we saw last week was just as good, with Iuli on the left and Pregnon on the right. So maybe they stick with that. Either way, I mean, I fully expect Oregon to be able to run for at least 5 yards per carry in this game and to rotate their three backs and keep everyone fresh and just kind of pound the rock. And then when Dante Moore is playing as well as he is, like, he can sit and survey and find the open guys. Like we said, find his checkdowns and just move the ball, pick up, keep moving the chains. So, yeah, defensively, I'm curious to see. I mean, we'll be watching those injuries to Page throughout the week, see if he's playing or not. But I think Jeff highlighted it. He sent it to us last night. Like, this is a chance. This is a game where I think Mateo and Tatum have a chance to really prove themselves, because Maeva takes a little bit more time to throw than, guys like Drake Lindsay or Mark Gronowski did. Like, they got the ball out super quick because they knew that Oregon was coming. We'll see if Maeva kind of makes that adjustment, but so far that he is taking a little bit more time to throw, so I think we might be able to rush the passer a little bit more. But then it all comes down to, Finney against Lemon or Farron against Lane. Like, how does this secondary hold up against their receivers? Because, like Lanning said last night, this is the best receiver core that Oregon has seen in quite a while. You go back to Ohio State last year, this is up there. Not as good, but I think right up there. So that will be, I think where this game is won. Can you run the ball efficiently, and can you stop their pass?
And what's interesting about their offense is, they still run the ball for over about 200 yards a game. They've had a really efficient running game all season. And Lincoln Riley's always been able to run the ball pretty well. That was kind of his staple at Oklahoma, was a really efficient run game. They run a lot of counter. They run a lot of misdirection when it comes to that type of stuff. So, they gashed Michigan on the ground. They didn't even need to use the passing attack a ton. And Michigan is typically a pretty good defense up front. So I think our test will be, can we stop the run without allocating a ton of resources to that? I think if we are able to do that, which I'm fairly confident in, then you make them a one-dimensional attack. And like I said, they're going to get their plays, but I think we're going to get ours as well. The challenging part will be if they have balance offensively, then you're in a tough situation where you need to, basically decide, am I going to send two bodies towards Lemon and Lane, or do I need to put more bodies in the box, which is where you see USC have a big advantage in that situation. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm totally with you about our ability to be able to run on them. I think that we will be able to, and I hope that Steinlich sticks to that throughout the game. But I think back to like a 2022 Washington game at Autzen, where you had us running the ball down their throat all game. They had a prolific passing offense. They just made just enough plays through the air, and then we got silly a couple times. We went away from the run a couple times. You had the kind of fluky Knicks injury at the end of the game off the bad snap, and then suddenly, boom, Washington wins. So you can dominate a game but lose some moments and get yourself in a tricky situation. So I don't know. I'm right with you that I think that we have a lot of advantages going into this, but anytime you're going against a team that has like NFL true playmakers, it's up in the air.
Are you telling me that we're going to see Brock Thomas in this game? Is that what you're forecasting?
Really hope not. I
hope not too. That would be a little terrifying. As far as game flow goes, what's the key? Like, if we leave the first quarter and this is happening, you feel confident, or if this is happening, you're like, uh-oh, like this may be a problem.
I think if we see Dante have early success, like we mentioned earlier, then I think both of us are so confident that our running game is going to be there. I think if Dante comes out and hits some balls early and is seeing the field and feels in a rhythm, then I don't see many drives beyond mistakes where they're going to be able to stop us. I just don't think they possess the playmakers to be able to like truly beat us defensively against our offense. So I think it's either going to be Dante feeling a little skittish like he did against Indiana, or us doing silly stuff. I think those are really the only pathways for them to truly stop us. So I'm going to be watching early. Like, obviously we want to see us, dominate the game and run the ball, but how comfortable, not that he needs to hit, two long touchdown passes, but how comfortable does Dante look? Is he comfortable in the pocket? Is he seeing the field? Is he going through his progressions? Like, that's going to be something I'm watching early.
I want to see how this offense, tries to find success. This is a team that can find success through the air with 11 personnel. It's like we saw last week. They can find success in 12, 13, 14 personnel. Are they going to go out and try and be like, these are two West Coast teams. Everyone thinks they're going to be run and gun and high scoring. But Oregon can play that Iowa-style football. Are they going to try and do that against USC, knowing that it can have success, or are they going to try and beat them at their own game? That's what I want to see. Not that one or the other would give me concern going out of this game. I think that I will feel really confident if I see a lot of good runs in the first quarter, and then Dante hits some, not even shots, but just some quick, smart passes and get the ball moving. But I'm just saying, I'm sure the personnel will be dictated by health and whether you get Gary Bryant back, or I don't think that we're going to get, DeCorian and Evan is still up in the air. I'm leaning towards no until the playoffs, but we'll see. But it'll be just interesting to see what style of football I think Oregon wants to play.
I think that's a good point, because I know we've tried to draw that contrast between like our physicality and theirs. Mm-hmm. I know that's been a narrative out there and one that we've leaned into, and I know we definitely feel kind of as a program that we're, our toughness and physicality is one of those things that sets us apart. So I think that's a good thing to watch early in the game, is like, are we just going to try to take the ball in the first drive and just run it down their throat? Yeah. We saw that against Washington last year. I think the first drive against Washington last year was just like 10 out of 12 runs or something, just straight down the field, 4 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 4 yards, just down the field, touchdown, boom. So that will be interesting when you contrast it with this idea of like, they know we want to get Dante in a rhythm. So I think you'll still see some balance with it, but I think a lot of the play action stuff that we did last week and that Dante's had success with in the last few weeks has been off of the ground game, which has obviously like been taken to a new level.
Yeah, ironically, this could be a game where, like, I don't know if I've ever said this about an Oregon team, but where, like, Oregon could try and play the Iowa style and limit USC's possessions. They'd be like, we can just run the ball. We can make you have 3 less possessions per game, so we don't have to worry about your your offense, your passing game, and just be fine. I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon runs the ball for 3 times as much as they pass the ball. If it's like a 250-yard running game to like 125 passing game, something like that, like that wouldn't shock me if that's how they leaned into this and tried to, like you said, harp on that physicality and just say like, hey, we are the bullies here.
And one thing that will be really helpful if you want to play that style of game is we've been the best team in the country in not allowing red zone opportunities, but when teams have gotten in the red zone, we've struggled. We've given up. The worst
team in the country.
Yeah, so that model generally is predicated off like, we trust that if they'll move the ball a little bit, but we trust that if they get the ball down in the red zone, like we can hold them to 3s. And we've been so good at that for a long time. It's just been interesting this year. I mean, it's such a low amount. I can't tell if it's kind of real or fluky at this point, but I'll keep coming back to it. I mean, you just cannot go into this game expecting Oregon to hold USC to like 200 yards, and we've seen these other passing games. Jaden Mayav is not going to go 8 of 24 for 68 yards. Like, it's just not going to happen. So what does our defense look like when they get down inside the 20s? Because typically passing attacks struggle more inside the 20s, and we've had such a good pass defense all year. So once again, if we can sit on the run a little bit, if we can stop their run game 4 or 5, max 6 bodies, especially when they get down, if we're holding to 3s, if we're having long, 5, 6, 7 minute touchdown drives, and then they're getting the ball and we're holding them to 3, our offense is right back out there, we get another 7. Like, that's how you build a lead in a game like this.
Agreed. So, like you said, the betting line, Oregon, it's kind of like last I saw, it was Oregon minus 9.5. I think the over-under is at 59.5. They expect there to be points in this game. What's your score prediction here?
I think this one will be a little back and forth. I think it'll be similar to other Oregon USC games we've seen. I think about the 2015 Oregon USC game at Autzen that was high-scoring affair. I think about that 2022 Washington game in that respect. I think it'll be a little bit back and forth. I think we'll kind of maintain a lead throughout. Late Sappington field goal gives us a 10-point lead, and I think the Ducks win 38-28.
I have the exact same score written down.
No shit, really?
38-28, right. Yep.
All right.
I kind of think it's the same thing. Like, I don't know whether Oregon has that 10-point lead and they stop them at the end, or they have a 7-point lead and they get that late field goal. But, I feel comfortable that Oregon can cover this spread, if it stays under 10 points. But, I think this is I was talking to you and Jeff last night. I think that this is a game where if Oregon plays, A-plus football, which, I don't know that we've seen them play A-plus football yet, I think they can win this game by 2 to maybe even 3 scores. Like, I like their matchups here if they can exploit them all. And I know that USC is injured as well, and of course so is Oregon. But I don't know. I like we said earlier, I think that Oregon has a lot more ways to win this game than USC does.
There's totally a pathway to, the 2023 SC game at Autzen, where Oregon is just scoring and USC's moving the ball a little bit, but makes a couple mistakes. I mean, that Maava will put ball in harm's way. He'll take chances. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He'll hang in the pocket and deliver contested throws, which obviously the receivers do a great job with that, but that just opens yourself up for different turnovers in different situations. So I think if we play clean offensively, and Dante plays even just a B+ game, I just don't really see a world in which we're not in the mid to high 30s, if not higher. And given where our defense is at, I just got to think we're in a good enough situation where we can piece together. I mean, when you get to that number, if you just stop them 2 or 3 times, you're fine.
Yeah, that's all you need. And I'm looking at, USC's defensive stats. I mean, their rushing defense, they allow 145 per game. That's 52nd in the nation. That's what stands out to me. The passing is 31st, scoring defense 30th. They're decent, but if you're going to find a place to target them, it's rushing. So that's where I think, I could see this being a high-scoring game in the 30s. Obviously, that's what I predicted. I could also see Oregon just say, hey, we're going to run the ball on you a million times in this game. We're going to be happy with 24, 28 points and try and hold you to less than that, but just keep the ball away from them. I don't know. That's why I'm just so curious to see what style of offense Oregon chooses to play.
Yep. And I think what style we can force them in defensively will be massive in that as well. I think that, if you can hold them down to around 100, I think the rushing yards, you're in a really good situation there. I think the only situation things start to get a little bit dicey is if they're really running the ball with success and can open up some shots. I think that we're going to be totally fine, giving up some underneath opportunities. If they want to throw to their 2 big, slow tight ends for 6-7 yards underneath, that, they're fine players. That's going to happen. I think our defense is going to be fine with that, allow them to methodically chunk down the field if they can do that. But I think it's some big-time hits is what you want to avoid.
I agree. Do you have anything else on USC before we get to college football playoff, college game day? Any requests for the guest picker or any thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't think I'm breaking news when I'm saying that it's confirmed-ish that Mariota's going to be in town.
Is it Mariota? I mean, I
don't know that I don't think he'll be the game day picker. It would be awesome. But I do believe he's getting inducted into the Oregon Hall of Fame. And
okay, I know they're doing the Ohana stuff. I know they're doing something for the M8 Foundation, so it makes sense that he would be in town. But no, I don't know if that's confirmed or not. But yes, it's a good guess that he will be here.
How about a little Herbert Madison beer combo on game day?
Awesome. What do you think? That would be awesome. I'd love it. I will until it happens. I will always say get Kenyon on there. Kenyon would be an incredible guest picker. I think he's one of the most,
especially for this game. They can show some SC highlights.
Yeah. No, he's just so magnanimous and so good in front of the camera. I think he'd be great. So that's my personal vote. But on this week, when maybe you have Mariota here. Yeah, take Marcus when you can get it. What if the 2 game days we have this year have Sabrina and Marcus? It's hard to get better than that.
High level. Hey man, it's just to tie it up. I mean, this is a massive game. I mean, we said it going into Iowa, and we said there that it would probably be the same for these remaining games. I mean, you can easily make the argument it's the biggest regular season game once again of Dan's tenure here. I think given the stakes on the West Coast, given the stakes on the playoff, given the stakes going into the offseason, I mean, you fight USC for so many battles, not only down the stretch here in 26, into 27 and 28. If they're able to say that they went into Autzen and beat us and made the playoff, and we're sitting at home going to the Alamo Bowl, I mean, that's a pretty big trump card. So one way or the other, I think this has ramifications long outside of the playoff chase. So it is certainly a massive game.
Yeah, there is a lot on the line. All right, let's talk about college football playoff before we get out of here. Again, coming out tonight. I think it's I don't know what time it is. 4:30.
It's the one. No, it's the one that's in between the two basketball games, so no one ever knows what time it's going to be.
Great. I hate that. That's awful.
Yeah.
This is an important one, though, just like we said, because to see where Oregon lands, there was some movement notably ahead of them this past week with Alabama losing to Oklahoma. That was the biggest game that I think can cause some movement here. Where does Oklahoma move up to? How far does Alabama fall? Is there any chance in your mind that either of those teams are ahead of Oregon in these rankings? Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, sadly. It's dumb, but it's true. I mean, the thing about them is Oklahoma has to be ahead of Alabama. So depending on Alabama has so many ranked wins and so many good wins that it's just a little bit dicey. And I know there's been some projections out there that have them both ahead of us, which I think is pretty ludicrous. I continue to think the fact that Ole Miss is in front of us is dumb, given the narratives coming out of this weekend. Of course, is that they had their tough, gritty win against a tough Florida team, and meanwhile we handle completely a 6-3, not 3-6 Minnesota team. But that's just par for the course. So the things I'm watching closely are: do we have a chance at jumping Ole Miss? Does it happen this week? I'm not expecting it, but maybe it could happen next week with them coming off a bye. But yeah, specifically Oklahoma, Alabama, where they shake out. I think once again, I'll keep coming back to it. The difference between 6 and 7 is going to be massive. And then the difference again from 7 to 8 is again massive. So I think there's a good chance we're at 7, which is fine. Like, I'll take it for right now, but it's looking more and more like Notre Dame is probably going to be that 10. I think you probably see a world in which Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame are in that like 8, 9, 10 range. And I think Notre Dame's good. I think they're really good. So I think if you can have Notre Dame coming to Autzen as 7-10 versus Georgia Tech or Virginia coming to Autzen as the 11, I'll go ahead and take that 6.
So much rather take that 6. Or the 5 or the 6 are where you would absolutely want to be. Yeah, Notre Dame, I think Oregon could win that game. They would be favored in that game probably by 4.5 or 5 at home, around there. But that's what a fun helmet game though to grow up thinking about Oregon versus Notre Dame in Autzen. That would be a fantastic experience, but definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too to see how these top seeds shake out. I mean, there's a good chunk of people saying now that they could see a world in which if Ohio State and Indiana go into the Big Ten Championship game as 1-2, they could just stay 1-2 as long as that game is somewhat competitive. So then you're looking at SEC winner at 3, maybe SEC loser at 4, or Tech at 4. So if your goal is to get Indiana and not like a 12-1 Georgia or a 12-0 or 13-0 A&M, something like that in SEC country, then you're like, oh, do I want to be 7, but I'm going to have the harder first round game? So I don't know. It's all going to shake out, but I literally spend 5 hours a day on group text just pining over scenarios.
I would like to see A&M at some point. If you could pick and choose who you want to see in the playoff, I would take A&M. I don't think they are that good. Would you rather play A&M in New Orleans? So basically an A&M home game, or Indiana in Dallas? Man, that's really close. Because those are the scenarios. Yeah. I'd almost rather play A&M in New Orleans. That may be crazy. I know that's a home game for them. I know they're undefeated. I don't think they've beat anyone. Watching that first half against South Carolina, it's oh my God, this team is so fraudulent. I forget, who has Marcel Reed in the Heisman draft? Is it you or me? Me. Nice. I love that. Yeah. Hey, good second half. Good second half. Fine. Off one of the worst first halves I've ever seen. So bad. And I mean, I would feel decent about both of those scenarios. I think Oregon can win both of those games. Where if you're going against Georgia or Alabama in New Orleans, it's no, you're just fighting an uphill battle. That being said, I think Indiana and Dallas is the right option, the right choice, but I'm out on A&M. I don't think that they are that good of a team.
I think A&M could easily lose to Texas, in which they won't even make that game. Then I think it would be, if chalk remains, then it would be Bama, Georgia in the SEC championship game, which, I'm with you. I don't need to play either of those teams, ideally in the first round. So I think a lot of it will shake out, but it's just some things to watch for over the next couple of weeks and some things to watch for tonight in terms of your Duck fandom. But like we said, I mean, we just gotta win the next two, and I'll take it either way.
Well, that's what you're focused on. All right, let's wrap it up there. You got to get to class. I got kid stuff to deal with. Just a reminder, if you have not seen Jeff's Film Room, came out last night, another really good one. And then the Ducks Rising Alumni Corner coming out later this week with Jordan Scott. Travis, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
No, we just need Duck fans to get in the stadium. We all agree 12:30 is crappy. Who cares? You don't need to tailgate that long. Get in there at noon. All the people on the club side need to get out of the club. Just eat your free popcorn at 11:30. It's not that hard. I'm tired of you guys not standing up. So just get in the stadium.
I love it. All right.
Yep.
Travis, get on them.
Yeah, it's tiresome.
Yeah. We've got a really good home crowd. They just need to be a really good home crowd.
Yep.
All right. Check us out on YouTube. Find the Ducks Rising podcast on Apple or Spotify. And if you'd be so kind, leave a rating or a review. You can follow me on social media at Zachary C. Neel. You can follow Travis at Travis Rooke-Ley. But most importantly, go over to Lockerverse and check out Ducks Rising. Subscribe now. Support the program. Let's rise together. We'll talk to you guys next week.